Hmm. Um, Facebook page. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is a special edition of Ask Andrew. I am in for Andrew this morning, and then he'll take back over. He'll be tracking out some more for you come tomorrow for your Thanksgiving and through your Friday. Even going into Saturday, he's actually filling in for me, so he will be tracking in the snow for you. And we're going to break all that down for you in just a second. But we're going to get through today where we have very windy conditions. Luckily, we are going to see dry skies and we should bring in some sunshine, which in turn is going to keep our skies pretty sunny for us as we head into your Thanksgiving. And so we'll have bright skies for that. It's just still going to be quite chilly. And then, of course, the big thing that we're all questioning is the snow chance. Yes. It's going to snow on Saturday. I am very confident that that's going to happen. Yeah, I do think that we are going to see our accumulating snow, really our first round of it for this weekend too, but I am not confident on our amounts just yet. We're still getting some of those short-term models to kind of come into bird eye view of getting that system together. Still this morning, only a few of them are able to touch into Saturday morning. So we're still getting this wide variety of different amounts being thrown out. Again, we're going to break this down for you. I'm going to give you my opinions of exactly how much I think is going to happen. My opinions haven't changed much from yesterday. So again, we're still trending to see the accumulating snow. We're Midwesterners, though. It's not going to be anything that we're not used to, I promise. So let's get into the winds for today because that's what's happening right now. It is extremely gusty outside. We have been seeing those gusts very impressively up to 50 miles per hour. So what you're seeing on the screen right now, what is flashing is those wind gusts. And they're coming in from the west-northwest. And what is even more impressive is we have seen gusts get as high as 60 miles per hour. Specifically right now in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City region, that's where some of the highest gusts have been seen. Regardless, a lot of us have been getting into that territory of 50-mile-per-hour winds. Again, it's extremely impressive. And that's why we do have a weather impact alert in place for us today because of those winds. If you're going to be traveling at all on the roads, especially across the Midwest, a lot of us are in a wind advisory through a lot of Wisconsin, through a lot of Iowa, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, lots of wind expected for those areas for today. So that's going to be the biggest impact that you see when it comes to any travel for today. And again, those winds are really high. I mean, this is what top wind gusts have been so far for this morning, getting up to 53 miles per hour in Dubuque, near 50 in Clinton, 52 Davenport, 54 Moline, 51 Muscatine. Again, it's very, very strong winds. And again, even getting close to 60 is crazy. And I want to kind of paint this picture for you for how strong these gusts are. When we are in our severe weather season and we're tracking in thunderstorms, the criteria for severe winds is 58 miles per hour. We have hit 60-mile-per-hour gusts in the Iowa side. So again, it's very windy. We're going to stay windy. If you're going to be out traveling, I'd say watch out for those semis. It's really those high-profile vehicles that could struggle a lot out there on the roads for today, especially going into those interstates. But right now, temperatures a lot cooler for us. We're in the low 30s. We have feels like temperatures in the teens because of all this wind. So you can expect it to stay, again, very, very chilly for us for today. A big change from yesterday, and this is kind of where we're going to ride for the rest of the week and going into the weekend. This cold air, we're going to turn it into some snow chances. So here's a look at live radar. One question that I did have this morning was if we're going to see any of these snow showers get into the northern counties of our area, specifically Joe Daviess County is kind of where I was seeing some snow chances from yesterday. So far, though, those winds look like it's bringing in some drier air for us, so a lot of the snow is actually remaining off to the north. So I guess if you are traveling to Wisconsin today, I know a lot of us are going to have a lot of travel plans. A lot of us probably have family members in both Minnesota and Wisconsin. That's where the snow is going to be found for today. Minnesota is starting to see those drier conditions. Wisconsin will still be seeing some light snow chances through today. But again, this area of low pressure is continuing to spin. It'll likely push off to the east by the time we get to the afternoon and evening. That'll start to quiet down our winds and also begin to bring in some clearer conditions. So we should see some sunshine for this afternoon, which also should be pretty good. I'm excited to see some brighter skies. So again, that's why we have this weather impact alert in place for most of the day today, almost all day. We'll probably see winds begin to calm down anywhere around 6, 7 o'clock this evening. So again, we'll have Peter Warner in this evening for James. He'll be tracking in any leftover gusty winds that we're seeing, but also going to have a really nice update for you when it comes to our snow chances. Like I said this morning, we're still working on getting some of those shorter term models to be able to pick up all of Saturday. Right now, I'm only able to see as far out as Saturday morning with some of those short term models. So that's why still seeing a big variety when it comes to those amounts. But by this evening, Peter will have a very early, again, keep in mind, very early snowfall estimate for you, and definitely can start to talk about some of those probabilities. And like I've been saying, I'm guaranteeing you we're going to see snow. It's going to happen. It will happen. I do think we will see accumulating snow. But again, the big question still stands, how much? So when it comes to those winds, though, slow down today. Watch out for those loose objects. It's trash day for me. I need to go move my trash can as soon as possible because I've already seen some trash cans knocked over today. No surprise there with those winds. As well as when it comes to those decorations, you know, holiday decor, a lot of inflatables. Hopefully you did not plug those in last night and kept those unplugged because those are going to be extremely vulnerable to those winds today. So we got the wind advisory across a lot of the Midwest for today. Again, it's going to be in effect for at least most of the afternoon. I think by the time we get to 6 o'clock, all of us will see this wind advisory expire, and that's when those winds will fall out of wind advisory criteria. It's still going to be breezy. So again, wind advisory criteria is about 45 miles per hour is when we see that confidence that we're going to see those gusts get that high. Well, that sticks with us through much of the morning and going into the afternoon. Then by the evening, we're going to see those winds calm down to around 30 miles per hour. It's still breezy. It's still going to stay breezy even into your Thanksgiving day, but should see some brighter skies. And again, at least those winds won't be nearing 50 miles per hour. But with those winds, we are going to see those feels like temperatures remain in the 20s all day today. Also not a surprise there with those very gusty conditions. Again, we got gray skies right now, but we should see some sunshine. I'm hopeful by the time we get to around 2, 3 o'clock before we see that sunset for this evening, and then we'll see clearer conditions throughout the night, which is going to bring in a very chilly night for us. So here's a look at future track. Again, by the time we get to 1 o'clock, should start to see some of those clouds begin to clear out, and then all of us should be seeing clearer conditions by this evening. With those clear conditions and those northwest winds still staying with us, it's going to be a cold night tonight. Lows are going to drop down to the low 20s. And then tomorrow for your Thanksgiving Day, at least it's going to be quiet. If you're going to be traveling anywhere for tomorrow, locally, anywhere close by, at least the Midwest looks really quiet. It's just going to be breezy, but it is going to be sunny. So that'll be the good news there. We do see those temperatures in the mid 30s still for us for Thanksgiving. All right. Okay, yes, 8-day tracker. So let's take a look at the 8-day tracker before I do dive into the snow, because I know that this is probably where I'm going to spend most of my time here for you this morning. So that 8-day tracker keeps in a lot of chilly temperatures for us for the next couple of days, kind of riding along that line around freezing, a couple degrees above freezing. Again, wind today, sun tomorrow. Most of your Friday looks dry. It won't be until Friday evening, very late, going into the overnight hours, that we're going to start to see snow chances. In fact, I'm kind of looking more towards midnight that we could start to see snow into our region for Friday night, and then most of it's going to last through Saturday. By Sunday morning, we should start to see those drying conditions. But what's happening, which is no surprise here, is because we're going to see some snow on the ground and because we're expecting some accumulation, with that snow-packed ground, it actually lowers your temperatures a little bit more. And so that's why we have decreased highs to go down into the 20s after the system pushes through. We could have overnight lows in the single digits as we get into the start of next week as well. And then we could see some more snow showers by the middle of the week next week. But I do want to show you the 14-day tracker because it does look like we do see rebounding temperatures, at least in our future. Again, this dip is going to be because of those snow chances that we see for this weekend. Could see another dip as we get into the following weekend, but still should start to see those temperatures begin to even out for us. But regardless, it does look like a very, very, very chilly start to the weekend. Or to the month of December. Okay, I see a lot of people interacting with us, so I want to say good morning real quick if anyone is just now joining. I am going to dive into these snow amounts because that's exactly what I am seeing for a lot of these questions. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to get myself too ahead. Okay, we're going to dive into some of the specific questions, but let's just get through my thoughts on this system that is coming in Friday night into Saturday. So, this system is still off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. It is still in the Pacific Ocean. Because of that, we're going to have to watch this closely. It's not until we make landfall with that system that we can start to see models start to come together a lot more. And this isn't expected to make landfall until tomorrow. So that's why we say about 1 to 2 days out is when you really want to pay really close attention to the forecast, because that's when you're going to start to be able to know a little bit more. A lot can change over the next 24 hours, but we're definitely going to let you know what our thoughts are so far heading into the weekend, especially because it is such a busy travel weekend for us. So again, the system is still over the Pacific Northwest. It's going to make landfall here as we get into tomorrow. And then that's when models are going to start to be able to come together a lot more, specifically when it comes to the track of it. And that in change is going to affect how much we could see here locally. So when it comes to the first inch of the season, because we haven't seen it, I want to give you an update on this and talk about this because we're on par. We're on average for our first inch of the season, which is on average around December 2nd. Historically, if we're looking at the past 30 years, December 2nd is the Quad Cities' first inch of snow on average. But over the past several years, we've definitely had our fair share of differences. 2019, I'm sure a lot of us remember that Halloween snow where we had a couple inches on the ground for that Halloween, and we saw our first inch officially for the season at the end of October. 2020, 2021, both didn't see our first inch until December. And then 2022 and 2023, we were both in November. So we're kind of in that sweet spot here. We're heading to the end of the November. We're getting into the beginning of December. It's pretty much on par for the timing-wise to actually get that first inch of snow. Last year, though, our first inch of snow didn't arrive until 2025. So for the season, for the winter season of 2024 to 2025, we didn't get our first official recording until January. That's not going to happen this year. So it looks like we're going to get our first official inch of snow here coming up for this weekend. So here is a look at our weather impact alert. We have one in effect. We've kept it in effect. It's because we're going to see our first measurable snow. It doesn't matter if it's a half of an inch. It doesn't matter if it's an inch. It doesn't matter if it's 10 inches of snow. That first inch of snow generally is a little more hazardous just because a lot of us are not comfortable with driving in the snow. We're Midwesterners. We know how to drive in the snow. But that first inch of snow, or that first round of snow that actually sticks to those roads, that's actually when we see the most accidents. So again, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a half of an inch. It doesn't matter if it's 10 inches. That first round of measurable snow to stick to the surface is usually one of the most dangerous events that we see, just because we are just not using as much caution. We're not used to it. So again, that's why we're kind of hitting this a little bit hard when it comes to being more cautious for this upcoming weekend and making sure that we're keeping you up to date. I will say we have lots of plans already in place for Saturday. I will not be in Saturday morning. Andrew will be in for me to track out the snow system for you, but we already have people on the line. We're gonna get the beast out. We're gonna track in some road conditions for you through Saturday morning. We're gonna have some live streams on our 8+ streaming app for you to follow along to be able to get up-to-date information as the snowstorm is happening. So we will keep you updated. We'll keep you informed through all that. We got lots of plans to keep you engaged with what's going on weather-wise. Winter forecast timeline. So when we get around 5 to 6 days out, like we have been, we know about as much of timing and that a system is coming in. That's about what we're confident on. And we've been pretty confident on the timing for a while. It's been pretty consistent. So we do know that this is going to happen Friday night into Saturday. Well, now we're starting to get into that window of 3 to 4 days out. And that's when, again, rain versus snow becomes more clear. And it's becoming more clear that we're going to expect some more snow. I think that rain line is going to stay just to our south of us, but the confidence in timing increases. Definitely. I do think that this is going to be a mainly Saturday event. That has not changed, and I don't foresee that changing here over the next couple of days. Come tomorrow, that's when we start to kind of get into that 1 to 2 day. That's when those totals are going to start to become a little more consistent, because we're still not consistent with model runs. So let's take a look at this future track real quick, and then we're going to dive into some model totals that have been spit out so far for this morning. Future track, again, has it coming in by Saturday night and then leaving by early Sunday morning. Or not Saturday night, excuse me, Friday night and going into Saturday morning. So again, if we back up the timing here, this is by midnight, Friday night going into Saturday morning. And that's when the system is expected to arrive. So the good news is if you're going to be traveling at all on Friday, especially if you're at least going to be east of the Quad Cities, you're going to have a lot of dry skies to deal with. So that'll be good news there. If you're going to be off to the west, though, again, watch out for some of those snow chances, because it could definitely start snowing as early as Friday evening for areas like Omaha, Nebraska, or going into western Iowa. But once we get into Sunday morning, so we're going to zoom in, 5 a.m. Lots of that snow looks like it's going to push off to the east. So that's the good news, is this is going to be a Saturday event, and it's going to be basically all day. So with that, and when we're talking about accumulating snow, at least it's not going to be just one big dumping in one quick round. It's going to be slowly accumulating as we get through your Saturday. And we know that it is going to accumulate. That's for sure. All right, let's take a look at these model runs. It is still all over the place, okay? All over the place. Not even anything that's showing much consistency. What we do see that consistency, if we can pull me out here. Okay, cool. Right here, you kind of see where this black line is. You see how the models are all consistent here? That's what we want to see. But we're not seeing that right now as we go all the way out to Sunday morning when this event is supposed to end. So once we get into tomorrow, we should start to see some of these lines conjoin together a little bit more. But again, that kind of goes to show that the timing of all these models, they're kind of on the nose with each other. So that's the good news. And right now, it's actually having it begin to bring in a lot more snow, again, past midnight on Friday night going into Saturday morning. But you can see we're still all over the place. 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches. What do I think is going to happen? I like the range of 4 to 6 inches. Why do I like that? Because we have been pretty consistent. I know you've seen a lot of the crazy maps out there. 15 inches, 12 inches. I've seen 7 inches. You know, there's a lot of maps being thrown out there. But what can models not really take into account? They can't take into account that we don't have any depth of frozen ground. We have not been that cold enough yet. Our ground is not frozen yet, so that means that the snow isn't going to stick to the surface immediately. We might likely have some melting going on. We still have a lot of leaves. We had a really late season when it comes to our leaves falling, our leaves changing. My road for sure still has tons of leaves on the ground. My grass has tons of leaves on the ground. That also adds an insulation factor to the ground itself. So our ground is still going to be somewhat warm. Yes, over the next couple of days, we got a lot of cold temperatures. We're likely going to see that main surface area begin to cool down, but it's that depth, that frost depth that we usually see in the winter where you start to see the accumulation really fast. That's not going to happen this time. So again, models don't really pick up on that. Then you also have to think about the compaction of the snow. This is going to be a heavy, wet snow. This is not going to be light and fluffy. Yeah. If it was going to be a light and fluffy snow, I'd say probably going to be 15 inches. This is not going to happen because we're going to see temperatures around 32 degrees, maybe even a little higher than 32 degrees. So again, that snow ratio to water content is going to be a lot lower than it would be if we were seeing that really light, fluffy snow. So again, the 15 inches is crazy. Whenever you see those maps, you got to think about all those different factors, is that models just can't pick that up. And that's why we have our meteorologists and our weather forecasters to be able to take that into account and, you know, kind of humble the models back down to where they should be. So like I said, right here, 4 to 6 inches, that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. That could change a little bit, but that's kind of where I am liking those numbers to be because, yeah, it's been pretty consistently high. We're seeing, again, still models push up to that 8 to 10 territory. But I kind of want to cut it down in half because of those factors of not having the frozen ground and not having, what was I saying? Not having extremely frigid temperatures. So that's my thoughts right now. All right, let's take a look again at that 14-day tracker. We're gonna see colder temperatures. We know that's gonna happen after we do see that snow. At least after the snow, we're gonna dry skies out though through a lot of the week. Even though we do see some snow chances by this time next week too, Wednesday, that system doesn't look like it's going to pack as much of a punch right now. We'll keep a close eye out on it, but at least we should get some dry skies to be able to rebound those roads. All right. Got about 10 minutes left, so let's start to quickly get through some of these comments. Okay. Michelle from Rock Falls asks, is it easier to track thunderstorms versus snowstorms? I think it's easier to track, hold on, I'm gonna leave this up here because this is probably what everyone wants to see is the predictions of the models. Anyway. I think it's a lot easier to track thunderstorms than snowstorms because snowstorms, it could be a single degree that changes the amount of snow you're going to see. 1 degree. 1 degree doesn't do much to thunderstorms. Now, the one thing is thunderstorms generally is a lot isolated, a lot more localized, versus snowstorms are a lot more widespread. So it's easier to forecast the area than it is for thunderstorms, but when it comes to actually forecasting amounts of snow, I would rather forecast a thunderstorm. I think that's a lot easier, just for me. That's personal. I'm sure there's a different answer for a lot of different meteorologists. Will the Storm Track 8 viewing area be in a blizzard on Saturday? I actually did look this up real quick just to give you an update on what, or just to give you a view on what blizzard actually means. Blizzard doesn't have anything to do with how much snow falls. It's more so the winds, actually, and the visibility. When it comes to blizzard conditions. So the National Weather Service defines a blizzard as a storm with sustained winds or frequent gusts of 35 miles per hour or greater, along with falling or blowing snow. So it doesn't even have to be snowing, it just has to have snow on the ground. And those winds could pick up the snow, and that's blowing snow. And then reduces visibility less than 1/4 of a mile for at least 3 hours. We're not going to see that on Saturday. Those winds are not going to get as gusty on Saturday. Still going to be somewhat breezy, but I'm not expecting 35-mile-per-hour winds for that system on Saturday. So that's the good news there, because I know we'll already be struggling with some visibility just with the snow in general. Throw in the winds, it would just make it even worse. Okay, we have this question. I have a couple questions for you. I saw a meteorologist from Mississippi post a photo of a fog bow. How does a fog bow happen? I'm assuming it has to do with, hold on, let me look up a fog bow. I've never heard that word before, real quick. Okay, it's pretty much what I was thinking of. when you have fog and you actually get that sun to rise, and again, it all has to do with the angle of the sun peeking through some of those water droplets. It's the same thing as a rainbow. Once that sun gets to that angle and it gets to those water droplets, it creates that prism effect and then creates that rainbow effect. It's kind of the same thing with a fog bow, but we generally don't see it because usually when we see foggy conditions, we're usually really, really cloudy. So it doesn't mean that it can't happen, but yeah, that's why they do see, or why you can get a fog bow, is if the sun does peek out just in time before that fog does burn off. Second question from this viewer, with this potential snowstorm, will thunder snow be possible? Thank you for your time, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thunder snow is hard to forecast. I'm not going to say no, just because we're going to see temperatures because you want to see temperatures closer to that freezing mark, if not slightly above freezing for thunder snow, because that kind of creates a little more energy. You need a lot of moisture, which we're going to have with the system. I'm not going to say it's not possible. Definitely possible. It's just very hard to forecast. If our temperatures were trending a little bit more closer to the mid-30s, I would be saying more definitely that we could see thunder snow possible. It's a rare thing to happen, so if you are somebody who can hear it or see it, consider yourself very lucky. I've only seen it once. Are we going to be in a winter storm watch tomorrow or later today? National Weather Service has said as early tomorrow they might start to issue some winter headlines. I am foreseeing right now that it will be a winter weather advisory issued. If not, maybe could see a winter storm watch for us. For winter storm warnings, we're usually, for at least our area, looking at a snowfall event that could be up to 6 inches. That's definitely a possibility. That is for sure a possibility. But right now I am anticipating more so that the National Weather Service might put out a winter weather advisory at first. We might see that upgraded, but I would say as early as tomorrow, we will start to see some winter headlines being issued. Christina says, hello, I'm visiting home for Thanksgiving in the Quad Cities. I was planning to travel back to North Carolina on Saturday. I'm looking to change my plans and leave on Friday. Would you suggest going to Indianapolis or St. Louis on Friday to avoid the bad weather? Yeah, if you don't want to drive in snow and you just don't want to deal with it, unfortunately, yeah, I would say it's probably going to be best for you to change your plans, because most of the day on Friday is going to be dry, especially if you're going east. I'm going to be in Indianapolis. I think that's a great stopping point for you to head to on Friday, because the system is going to push in late Friday night, and then eventually it will get to the Indianapolis area, but not until later Saturday. So if you can get to Indy on Friday and then veer off to the Carolinas after that, you'll be good to go. You will avoid the storm completely, and you won't have to worry about it. I know that's the unfortunate thing with this, is you might just have to watch out. What is your comfort level when it comes to traveling in these kinds of conditions? This person, Razor or Jim, says, never owned any Christmas yard inflatables until this morning. Got a few for free when I woke up. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of those flying if people have them up. Yes. I'm skipping some questions because a lot of them just has to do with how much snow are we going to see. Okay, I can answer this one real quick. Tyler, are there any possible amounts of snow in the Quad Cities? Will this be heavy wet snow or dry fluffy snow? I'm thinking more heavy wet. So dry fluffy snow is more so when we're expecting high temperatures to only stay in the 20s, but high temperatures on Saturday are expected to get to at least 33, 34 degrees. So we're going to be above freezing. So regardless, this is going to be a heavier wet snow. And again, the ground is not frozen either, so you got to take into account the ground as well. So this is kind of going to compact as it falls down. And that's why I do think some of these models who are pushing out, 10 plus inches are a little crazy. But again, models can't really take that into account as much, or they don't. They're kind of just taking a look at the event as a whole, and then it's our job to think about those other factors and think about what we're going to actually see. Will there be high winds with this? Luckily, no. It'll be a little breezy, but not anything high winds. So we're not going to expect any blizzard conditions with this. And then, hello, good morning, Brett Massey. Why are models so inconsistent until the day of? A lot of it has to do with the temperatures. And it's just, they're tricky systems. They're very quick moving systems too. And again, like I said earlier, if you missed this, let me go back to this graphic. The system that is going to bring in snow for us on Saturday is still in the ocean. It is still in the Pacific Ocean. And models can do a good job on picking up the track, but once that system gets over actual land, that's when models can start to get more accurate. And then that pretty much puts us about 1 to 2 days out from the system. So this area of low pressure should be over the Pacific Northwest over land by tomorrow. And why it matters is because land adds a lot of friction, can slow down the system. It's going to start to interact with a lot of other factors, topography, other systems that are in the United States. So once we do get this to push onto land, we're going to know a lot more. So especially tomorrow. Again, Andrew will be back in tomorrow morning. He will give you an update on his thoughts on the snowfall. Peter is going to be in tonight. He'll give you his thoughts as well. But I'm going to say tomorrow is going to be a good day to maybe kind of check in. I know it's Thanksgiving, but you know, if you can, maybe check in on the forecast. Of course, I'm sure all of us will be on Facebook giving you updates through tomorrow and Friday ahead of the system. Just make sure if you're going to be traveling, just to take a quick peek at those amounts. So before I leave you here, because we only got a couple more minutes left and we did get through most of the questions, and the last questions, of course, have to do with how much snow are we going to see. So we're still extremely wide variety, wide range of amounts being put out by models. But today, we're going to slowly see our short-term models, like our in-house model, the NAM, the HER, all these other models that we like to use to help forecast. They're going to start to be able to get to that timeline of Saturday as we head through the day today. Right now, I am only able to reach as early as Saturday morning, which is why these models are a lot more consistent here for Saturday morning. So you can see those lines are all nice and pretty together. And then they really start to branch out as we get into Saturday, just because these short-term models haven't been able to pick up Saturday yet. So through today, we're going to start to know more. Especially by tomorrow, we're going to gain a lot more confidence. And like I said, my personal opinion, this is not an official forecast, this is just my personal opinion because I want to be honest with you guys. I think 4 to 6 inches is a good bet and a good range right now. Of course, we're going to keep you updated. I'll have another update here coming up on Good Morning Quad Cities at 11. We will be on Facebook active giving you updates. We'll be on our News 8 Streaming Plus active giving you updates. Of course, we are prepared to get you through the storm. We're Midwesterners. We're going to get through it. I know it's a busy travel season too. We'll keep you updated. For now, everyone have a great Wednesday and happy Thanksgiving.